Welcome to Speaking of Entrepreneurship, a podcast powered by the Center for Entrepreneurs at Cuyahoga Community College's Corporate College. Here, we dive into real conversations with industry experts, innovative founders, and business leaders who share their insights, challenges, and strategies for success. Whether you're launching a startup, scaling your business, or just exploring the entrepreneurial mindset, this is your space to learn, adapt, and thrive.
Most consultants, coaches, and service-based providers don't have a revenue problem. They have a profit problem. They're booked, busy, and exhausted, and they are growing and running businesses that cannot function without them. Talking today about why so many expert-based businesses struggle to become truly profitable and what it actually takes to design an expert-based business that works without burnout. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speaking Entrepreneurship. I am your host, CP, and today we have an amazing guest who is going to help us figure out how to build a business without burning out. And Lord knows, none of us need any more burnout. Our guest today is Anup Gupta. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and dropping these knowledge gems on our audience today.
It's my pleasure.
So, Anup is a growth-based profitability expert who has spent decades helping consultants, service providers, and business owners increase profit, streamline their operations, and build businesses that don't fall apart without them. He is also an amazingly successful entrepreneur who has started businesses, sold them, and is living his dream life of freedom right now. And he also teaches here at Corporate College at Tri-C in the entrepreneurship program. So Anup, thank you so much for taking the time out of your amazing dream life schedule, because we all want to be like you when we grow up. And I'm going to have you tell everybody today how you did what so many of us start our businesses to do to achieve that freedom. And when we first started talking, we were kind of preparing for today, you said something that I thought was so profound. And it was as you were telling me a little bit about your story. And you said the dream versus the safe way. Right? You decided to pursue the dream versus doing it the safe way. So I want you to share with us kind of where you started, how you've grown to where you are right now, but also what exactly that means that you think our audience really needs to hear.
So my story started back in 91 when I moved to Ohio. After getting my master's, I got a full-time job in Ohio, started working for this company, and did a great job. Our sales tripled by the time I was there. Then in 95, in June, I lost my job. Don't know why, but I lost my job. And at the time I lost my job, it was one of the toughest time of my life.
Right.
Because my wife wasn't working and I just got married a year earlier. I lost my job, so no income. Didn't have much savings at all. And the biggest issue was that my wife was pregnant with our first child due in August.
And it rains, it pours, right?
Exactly. So, and my car that I had was a company car, so car was gone as well. So at that time, I had to make a decision if I was going to get back into the comfort zone of having a steady paycheck.
The safe way.
Safe way. Or fulfill my lifelong dream of following the journey of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. October 1, 96 was the date that I started my business from my 2-bedroom apartment in Stowe.
Wow.
And worked very hard with God's grace, great employees and support system. And the support of my staff, I was able to grow my business profitably. And then in 2022, I sold my business. And the reason I was able to sell my business was 4 years into starting my business, in the year 2000, my wife and I wrote a plan that we wanted to achieve financial independence by the time I was between 50 and 55 of age. And we followed that plan. And I was able to reach that goal by the age of 49. And we sold our business by the time I was 53.
Wow.
So the lesson is, you got to have a plan. Things just don't happen by accident. You have to have a plan of whatever you want to achieve in life.
Yeah. And you got to take the leap too. I think I'm getting that lesson out of it as well. I mean, what made you, so many entrepreneurs are in that space right now in their lives where they may be thinking, should I just take the safe way, like go back to the safe way, because I may have hit some bumps. I may have hit some twists and turns in this journey. I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it right. I don't necessarily have clarity. I don't know if I have the right structure. I mean, their little roommate, I call it the unwanted roommate in your head, like that voice that's designed to keep you safe with your central nervous system. And so it just literally feeds into, no, go the safe way.
Yep.
And, you have a hard time turning it off, but you were able to turn off that annoying roommate that I always say everyone needs to evict and tell them to get out of your room, and pursue that dream. What made you decide to take the dream way and not the safe way?
Again, after selling my business, I became a consultant. Now I work with small business owners, entrepreneurs, and help them achieve their dreams. And I always tell them that it's easy to start a business, but to sustain that business, be resilient in that business, you got to have that emotional reason. And what I mean by that, sometimes business owners start businesses, but after maybe 2, 3, 5, 10 years, they just lose that fire. And where does the fire come from? You have to have that emotional tug, that emotional reason. In my life, there were 2 reasons that I started that business. One was I lost my job. I had to provide for my family, my new daughter that I had to provide for. And second was that I wanted to prove to myself and my family that I'm not a failure. Because that's what I felt like that when I lost my job. And why those emotional tugs are important, because there will be time in life, in your business life, when you fall, when you fail, when you lose a big client, when something happens that you feel like I want to just quit.
Yeah, someone tells you no.
Right, exactly.
That you thought
because
for
there's so
sure
many
was
people
say
who don't
yes.
believe in you.
Absolutely.
And those emotional reasons keep you going.
Yeah.
So whenever I fell down, I remember that I want to provide for my family. I want to have good education for my children. I want to give them the best life I can. And my goal was to pay for their education. So when they get out of college in the real world, they don't have that big load of loans that they have to pay.
Right.
So those were the reasons that kept me going. And until any entrepreneur has those, it's very easy to just give up.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is that you zoned in on your why. Have you ever read Simon Sinek? Do you know who Simon Sinek is?
Yes.
So one of my favorite books of his is Know Your Why.
Know Your Why, yep.
And he talks about it from the perspective of definitely being able to market yourself and attract your audiences and sell more and all that stuff. But he also, really does bring up the exact same point I think that you're making here is, in the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, you have to make sure that you are aligning your why with everything else that you do.
Yep.
And, I tell my students oftentimes, even as a consultant, it's kind of connecting that passion with your lifestyle goals, with your mission, with your own personal vision, and kind of keeping that in front of you, which is probably, why I make a vision board every single year. It kind of keeps my why. But yeah, knowing your why, I would definitely say when I've had those dark times, the only thing that really helps me tell that roommate to get out of my head is my why.
Yep.
Yeah. And hearing your passion behind that, I think is really, really important for entrepreneurs to know that you faced hard times and now you are at the point where I think so many entrepreneurs want to be, where they've succeeded and were able to, secede from their business in whatever way they want to, and then begin pursuing other things. So when we talk about your journey, and, from the beginning, right, we talked about that. Let's talk about the middle, where you really started to see it take off and you really started to see, all right, this is working and I'm kind of getting in my groove. What were the top 2 things that you felt like were really critical to you being able to get into that growth, even scaling even more to ultimately achieve that goal? I know your goal was a big deal to you, but like structurally, strategically, systematically in your business, what really moved the needle for you?
So my business was, when I started my business, I focused on the healthcare industry.
Okay.
So my first, I would say 15 years, I was strictly in the healthcare.
Was that what you did before you started your business?
No.
Were you in healthcare?
Nope.
Oh, so it was totally different.
I just
totally different industry.
Totally different industry. Yep.
All right.
Because my thinking was like, especially senior healthcare industry, because we all going to age. So senior healthcare is not going to go anywhere.
It's not.
So I went for the industry which I knew would be there for the long haul. And then in about 2006, 2007, I decided, I'm 100% in healthcare. I need to diversify. What if something happens? So I'm like, I need to diversify my industry. So then I started going into higher education. So then I started pursuing universities and colleges. And that came very, very handy in the 2008, 2009 crisis.
Right.
So that time I was diversified. And then a few years down the line, I diversified into government. So then I had healthcare, higher education, and government, and a little bit of nonprofit. So that's
so you weren't really changing your product.
No.
What I'm hearing you say is that you just were adding additional audiences.
Exactly.
You were adding additional ICAs to it. But you started with one.
With
so you
one.
Focused in on one. You optimized that one, and then you added a different one. Which I think is an important point for folks listening, especially our newer and growth stage entrepreneurs who want to start their businesses and they want to talk to everybody. Have you seen that? They're like, I want to talk to everybody. If I don't talk to everybody, I'm losing people. And you're saying,
Nope.
I did the opposite. I slowly added them on in order to be able to do it.
In healthcare, I was the best. I was the number one. I mean, you talk to any senior care facility in the Akron, Cleveland, Northeast Ohio area, they knew who Anup Gupta was.
Yeah.
And then when I became successful in that, I was well established. And I'm like, okay, now I want to diversify. So I diversified into higher education. Pretty soon, 10 to 12 different universities, I was their prime supplier. And then I diversified into government. So that was number one. You asked for two. And the diversification was number one. And second was to have systems in place. Because as I started my business, it was just me. Everything was done by me. And then my wife joined, so she took over a lot of, but then I started hiring employees. So then, because then if you remember, I had my plan for exit. So I'm like, I need to have systems in place so that I'm able to exit. Because one of the biggest mistakes business owners make when they want to exit is they are the business. So they're not able to sell their business.
Trapped.
They're trapped. But nobody want to buy the business if you are the business, if all the customers just know you or the suppliers know you. So then I started having a team where I started delegating more and more work to them and started getting out myself.
Did you create SOPs and stuff like that where you like automating things? And when you say your systems, were you like documenting everything so that you could train folks with it? And what did that look like?
It was not as systematic as if I would do it today, but it was systematic enough where I didn't have to watch over them for every little thing. I started delegating. I empowered them to talk to customers, start doing pricing, which I used to do on my own before. So I delegated a lot of pricing, a lot of the customer relations, a lot of supplier relations. So I was getting slowly but surely out of the day-to-day activities of business. So those are two things I did that helped me go even more profitable and then eventually be able to exit on my own terms.
Nice. So you removed yourself as the bottleneck. Right?
Yes.
Because I think that is something that I see oftentimes with the folks that I coach and teach, and even that I struggle with in my own business. You know, I'm in this space right now where, you know, I was like, oh no, I got a small team. I love my team, but there were still so many areas that I'm the bottleneck. And, you know, I've got visions and dreams to do other things that I really need to remove myself. And so I've buckled down. A part of my strategy for this year is to say, no, you gotta, you know, scale in and bring in some folks that are going to help you with the strategy piece to remove you. And I, for the first time ever in my career, of all the businesses that I've started and sold and done all the things with, I'm hiring a COO. And that was a position that I was terrified to hire for because, I've always been the COO. That's what I do. People hire me to be their COOs or CEOs. And I was like, well, if I hire someone, what sense does that make? It's like, why am I hiring someone to do what I can do? But I'm the bottleneck. I'll never get to that next level, which for me is 9 figures, 8 figures, if I can't remove myself from being the bottleneck. And that's what I'm hearing you say. You removed yourself.
And that's how to do.
How did you, I need this coaching call right now that we're doing, because it's been so hard for me to just say it's okay not to be the bottleneck, and that it's more critical for my business for me not to be the bottleneck, especially when it comes to the operations. I'm not the bottleneck in other areas that I feel like I don't have expertise in, but just that one area. So if you were the kick butt salesperson, because I heard you say, I was the kick butt salesperson.
I love sales.
I love sales. How did you remove yourself from being the bottleneck, specifically in the sales, which sounds like it's something that you were good at and you loved? Was that the hardest thing to remove yourself from? And how did you do it?
I didn't have to remove myself from sales. The reason being, our business was just growing every year. I'm very proud to say that in 26 years that I ran my business, except for 1 year, in 2001, except 1 year, our business grew every single year. And it grew without having a sales team.
It's just you.
Actually, I sold for the first maybe 12, 13 years. After that, business was growing with referrals.
So you were referrals and retaining your existing customers.
Retaining my existing customers. So we didn't have to go and sell much. And like I said, we started with one university, and then they started giving our name out to other of their contacts. So business grew with referrals. So we didn't have any sales team. We didn't have much any sales expenses. It was growing with referrals.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, which I'm going to make a statement which you might not believe and your audience might not believe. In 26 years that I ran my business, I never, ever paid for advertising. Never, ever paid for advertising.
I think that's, and what you're saying right now, I think goes back to our discussion around picking an audience and optimizing it. Because if you do that well, if you're focusing on a particular audience, the referrals are going to be within that sphere. So it's going to be easier for them to say, no, he specializes in us.
Exactly.
Right? He is the expert. He's the cardiologist for us, right? And so it's very easy for those referrals to come in because you are focused on that, and they're going to refer you to other people who are just like them and other people who are just like them. That's another reason why niching down and taking it one audience at a time is so important, because I have found the exact same thing. As I began to expand my audiences, I did the same thing. I focused on nonprofit consulting and did specific things around nonprofits and became kind of known as an expert in that, and then moved into, larger nonprofits, and then ultimately moved into for-profits, and then, insurance, but, it's just all these different things because the referrals. Now,
exactly.
I get referrals from all the audiences,
all over, yes.
And you can still do them. So I'm still serving them all.
That's right.
But that is such an important point to make, that I think what you said right now is that your business was flowing in from referrals because you were the expert.
I was the expert in that.
In that industry.
Yep.
So you didn't have to even remove yourself.
I didn't have to. No, sales business was just coming with referrals. It's just amazing. I still remember that one LinkedIn message I got from this one client. She was my client in healthcare, and then she left healthcare. 10 years later, she came back and she sent me a LinkedIn message because she didn't have my email. She said, Anup, do you remember me? I used to do, business with you when I was working here and all that. She can send me a long message. I'm like, I sure do. She said, Anup, now I'm the head of such and such company. I manage 20 facilities. Can you come and talk to me? Just with one message, I had 20 clients from the great job we did for her 10 years ago. So, we didn't have to do much sales. It was all through referral base.
But you also had to have a really strong service delivery model.
That is must.
And very strong systems in place in order for those referrals to keep coming and for your clients to come back again. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how did your service delivery model or your delivery models and sales models and the processes and systems that you mentioned you put in place, how did they really affect your ability to control capacity, but also affect your profit?
The key word is the profitability. And this is what I focus on when I work with clients. I always talk to them about revenue does not matter. A lot of people, a lot of business owners talk about they want to reach a certain revenue, or they want to have such a big, the fleet size, or they want to have so many locations. And my focus always is, and has been, profitability. Revenue doesn't mean anything to me if the profitability is not there. And that's what I coach them on. How you want to be the best in your industry. You talk about customer service. And that's one thing that I can say proudly, that our customer service was the best. Clients would call, and a lot of times we would think for them. A lot of times they would say, no, we want to buy such and such a product, or we want to look for these ideas. And I would go back to them with some ideas of my own. And I would say, no, let's talk about this. This I think will get you a better result.
Right.
Now, how I was able to do that, because I would ask them questions. And they all used to joke, Anup, you ask the most questions. I said, more I know about you, better I can help.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times I would go to them with ideas that they were not even thinking. And that's what made me the go-to person, because they knew that our company as a whole, had their best interest at our heart. And that's what differentiated us from a lot of our competition, who was mostly focusing on price, focusing on selling products. And we didn't do that. We were focused on selling solutions to their problems. We took time to listen to them, to understand them, understand their industry, understand their business, understand their clientele, the issues they were facing. And then we went back to them with ideas to alleviate those issues. So that was our secret sauce, that we did the thinking for them.
Yeah. And do you think that the fact that you were so focused on one industry at a time helped to solidify that for you? Because, I'm thinking, if you really focused on healthcare for, 3, 4, 5 years, there isn't anything that somebody could tell you that you wouldn't already know. You knew their pain points, their challenges, what they were looking for, their ultimate desires in and out, because that's who you knew and that's what you were focused on.
Right.
So would you say that contributed to that knowledge and you being able to even anticipate their needs before?
Right. Since I was in senior healthcare industry, even on the weekends, I would just go to different nursing homes, different assisted living, just to learn about what they are, what they do, and how they do it. Just stand there and watch.
Yeah.
And talk to people who are in that industry. I was, even on the weekends, my kids, now they're grown up, they would be in the stroller and I would be taking them to places.
Yeah.
And just to learn. So I was an expert, and not only about the industry, but about my own business, my products. I believe in educating the business owner need to be on top of the knowledge that in their industry, in their business, you want to be the best. And that's what Mark Cuban always said. You better know more about your industry and your business than your competitors.
Yeah. And in order to do that, you have to always be learning.
You have to always learning.
Always be learning. ABL, always be learning.
Always be learning, exactly.
And I think that I've worked with folks who, the ones who have literally decided that there's nothing else for them to learn are the ones that I see them years later and their businesses are gone, or they're back, in corporate America, and they just never achieve that level of success because the ego kind of gets in the way, right? The most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that have that humility to say, there is no way on earth that I know everything that there is to know about what I'm doing. And it's so important for me to take the time to do that. What are some practices or even rituals maybe that you have that you embrace in order to continue to learn? Because it's a time thing too, right? If you're in the thick of your business all the time, sometimes entrepreneurs are like, well, yeah, it's great. I'd love to learn. I got a whole folder of stuff I want to learn about, but I don't have time to do it. Did you ever put anything specific? I know I've got my rituals, but what do yours look like to ensure that you were always learning? I know you mentioned visiting clients and talking to them. Was there anything else like, secret sauce wise that you did?
I always took time to see the salespeople who called on me to sell me the products that we would sell to our clients. I never avoided them. The reason? Let's say, we used to work with dozens of suppliers. And each supplier might have, let's say, 100 products. the salesperson selling for that company knows those 100 products the best, better than I will ever know. So when the salespeople would come to talk to me, I would take time to learn about the products. I would never avoid these salespeople. They were wealth of knowledge for me. They not only gave me the knowledge of the products that I would sell to my clients, they would give me the knowledge about the industry, how industry is shaping, what are the new things that are happening, what to avoid, what to do, what not to do. And a lot of these salespeople, like I said, they became my friends. And a lot of my competitors would avoid them. So that was number one. Second, I subscribed to the publications in the industry, and I would always read from front to the back. I would never, ever just throw those publications, which a lot of people do. So I always kept up with that. Third, I always attended the industry events. I always participated in them, whether they are webinars or they are workshops or they have trade shows. I never, ever missed any shows in Cleveland, Columbus, Akron area.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that a lot of people just don't do. And even now, after selling my business, I still learn. I'm always reading, subscribing to the publications that I'm interested in. So learning never stops. You always need to be a student.
I love it. I love it. So you've dropped some real knowledge bombs today and some inspiration that I think our audience is really going to be able to take with them. But if you could give one piece of advice to consultants, coaches, service providers, speakers, all of those folks out there who are really delivering a service or a product to a client who want a profitable business without burnout, one piece of advice, what would it be?
So profitability and not burnout. So from the profitability point of view, you have got to see how you're pricing your services. What I see a lot of consultants, they price by the hour, by the project. If you shift to a value-based pricing.
Amen.
So
you are speaking my language.
That is very, very important, because more value you deliver to the client, whatever it might be, whatever they are trying to achieve, whether they want to increase the number of clients, whether they want to increase their profitability, or they want to increase the number of subscribers, or they want to increase the number of people who click on their website, whatever it might be. If your compensation is tied as a percentage of the goal that they're trying to achieve, I feel that's a win-win. You don't get paid a penny if they don't achieve. So you have your vested interest in that. So more they achieve, more you make. So, and a client doesn't even mind paying that.
Correct.
If you make somebody $1 million and I'm going to take 20% of it, I don't think anybody's going to object to keeping $800,000 in their pocket.
I agree.
So one, check your...
That's a great split.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
So set your pricing based on the results. And again, it challenges you as well. If you're not a knowledgeable person, if you cannot solve their issues, you have to look in the mirror like, okay, I need to improve. I need to develop these skills before I go back. So it's a win-win for both. About the burnout, systems. You got to have systems in place. Once you have systematic, everything you use systematic for you, and you get yourself out of the picture. We know that as business owners, that anybody you hire, they cannot have the same passion as you do, the same drive as you do, the same fire as you do. If they deliver 70, 80% of what you are, that's good enough. You cannot clone yourself as we would like to, but we cannot clone ourselves.
Yeah.
So understand that. Go with the mindset that the person you're hiring, somebody who's going to replace you, is 70, 80% of you, and that's fine.
That's okay.
So, and then have some boundaries. You cannot be there 14, 16 hours a day as you used to when you started your business. Set some boundaries that, I want to be with the family after this time. I'm not taking any phone calls after this time.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that are hard to do for entrepreneurs, because you just go, whatever it takes, I'll make it happen. Exactly, all the time. You still have the mindset.
Yeah.
But what you did in the beginning of your business cycle, as later on, start to slow down a little bit.
Remove yourself.
Remove yourself so you can enjoy life, give time more to your family.
And you can ultimately get to that freedom that you started the business to get to, right?
Exactly. Because business, exactly. Business is important, but business is just not that you're going to kill yourself for that.
Yeah. And it's not who you are. It's just what you do. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much. I think that what you've hit on today is the work that most people skip, right? The profit structure and leadership discipline that you need, developing the game plan, dropping that knowledge on what's most important. And so I appreciate so much these bombs that you have provided for us today. And I'm sure that everybody who has been watching today, hopefully they got something out of it, whether they're listening or watching. And tell us how we can find you. How can everybody find out where you were so they can continue to get these nuggets?
So like I said, after I sold my business, my goal now is 50% of my time I spend on my consulting business. Other 50% I give back. So to find me in my consulting business, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can go on my website. The website actually is under construction right now. It's agconsultingusa.com.
Okay.
But besides the consulting work, I'm a volunteer at SCORE, where I mentor other business owners.
Awesome.
I also sit on the board of Black Chamber of Commerce of Summit County. You can find me there. And I teach at Tri-C.
Yeah. So
now at this point in my life, 50% is giving back, other 50% I spend on consulting business. So that's you can find me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know most of us want to be like you when we grow up, right? Everybody does. So there you guys have it. You heard it directly from an expert, and you also know how to get in touch. And he is mentoring in so many different ways. So make sure you check him out. And until next time, my loves, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you soon. Bye-bye. Mwah!
Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast, brought to you by the Center for Entrepreneurs at Corporate College. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow entrepreneurs. Tune back in to stay connected with us for more insights and resources to help you build, innovate, and thrive.